guys, it's me, Bridget, and I'm back with another video. It's been really interesting filming every single day of this week. I like this. I really wish that this could be a regular thing, and if I had enough time and ability to do this, I would definitely make this my thing. I would put out a video every day. Really would. Today though, unfortunately, is the last day that we will be doing this. Today is part 3 of chapter 6 of Women Who Run with Wolves. We'll be talking about the mistaken zygote today. Really just want to go ahead and jump into the video, so before we do that, make sure you subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell so you'll be notified when any of my new videos come out. Also, go ahead and give this video a like. Just let me know that you're enjoying the series and being on this journey with me and book club and blah, 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 all of that. But without further ado, let's get into the video. So in this chapter, we're actually kind of gifted with a little treat. At the end of the chapter, Estes actually adds in a story that she created on her own called the Mistaken Zygote. She said that it's a story that she made for her clients to give them a more empowering feeling for the outsider feeling that they deal with on a regular basis. Have you ever wondered how you managed to end up in such an odd family as your own? If you have lived your life as an outsider, as a slightly odd or different person, if you are a loner, one who lives at the edge of the mainstream, you have suffered. Yet there also comes a time to row away from all that, to experience a different vantage point, to immigrate back to the land of one's own kind. Let there be no more suffering, no more attempting to figure where you went wrong. The mystery of why you were born to whomever you were born to is over. Finis, terminado, finished. Rest for a moment at the bow and refresh yourself in the wind coming from your homeland. For years, women who carry the mythic life of the wild woman archetype have silently cried, "Why am I so different? Why was I born into such a strange or unresponsive family?" Wherever their lives wanted to burst forth, someone was there to salt the ground so nothing could grow. They felt tortured by all the prescriptions against their natural desires. If they were nature children, they were kept under roofs. If they were scientists, they were told to be mothers. If they wanted to be mothers, they were told they'd better fit the mold entirely. If they wanted to invent something, they were told to be practical. If they wanted to create, they were told a woman's domestic work is never done. Sometimes they tried to be good according to whichever standards were most popular, and didn't realize till later what they really wanted, how they needed to live. Then, in order to have a life, they experienced the painful amputations of leaving their families, the marriages they had promised under oath would be till death, the jobs that were to be the springboards to something more stultifying but better paying. They left dreams scattered all over the road. Often the women were artists who were trying to be sensible by spending 80% of their time doing labor that aborted their creative lives on a daily basis. Although the scenarios are endless, one thing remains constant. They were pointed out very early on as different, with a negative connotation. In actual fact, they were passionate, individual, inquiring, and in their right instinctive minds. So the answer to why me, why this family, why am I so different is, of course, that there are no answers to this question. Still, the ego needs something to chew on before it will let go. So I propose 3 answers regardless. The analysant may pick whichever she likes, but she must pick at least one. Most pick the last one, but any are sufficient. Prepare yourself. Here they are. We are born the way we are and into the families we came through. 1, just because. Almost no one will believe this. 2, the self has a plan and our pea brains are too tiny to parse it. Many find this a hopeful idea. Or 3, because the mistaken zygote syndrome. Well, yes, maybe, but what is that? Your family thinks you're an alien. You have feathers and they have scales. Your idea of a good time is the forest, the wilds, the inner life, the outer majesty. Their idea of a good time is folding towels. If this is so for you and your family, then you are a victim of the mistaken zygote syndrome. Your family moves slowly through time. You move like the wind. They are loud, you are soft. Or they are silent and you sing. You know just because you know. They want proof in a 300-page dissertation. Sure enough, it's the Mistaken Zygote Syndrome. You've never heard of that? Well, see. The zygote fairy was flying over your hometown one night, and all the little zygotes in her basket were hopping and jumping with excitement. You were indeed destined for parents who would have understood you, but the zygote fairy hit turbulence, and oops, you fell head over heels, heels over head, right into the family that was not meant for you. Your real family was 3 miles further on. That's why you fell in love with a family that wasn't yours, and that lived 3 miles over. You always wished Mr. and Mrs. So-and-so were your real parents. Chances are, they were meant to be. This is why you tap dance down the halls even though you come from a family of television spores. This is why your parents are alarmed every time you come home or call. They worry, what will she do next? She embarrassed us the last time. God only knows what she'll do now. Ugh. They cover their eyes when they see you coming, and it's not because your light dazzles them. All you want is love. All they want is peace. The members of your family, for their own reasons, because of their preferences, innocence, injury, constitution, mental illness, or cultivated ignorance, are not so good at being spontaneous. With the unconscious, and of course, your visit home conjures up the trickster archetype, the one who stirs things up. So before you've even broken bread together, the trickster madly dances by, just dying to drop one of her hairs into the family stew. Even though you don't mean to upset the family, they will be upset no matter what. When you show up, everyone and everything seems to go quite mad. It is a sure sign of wild zygotes in the family if the parents are always offended and the children are always feeling as though they can't do anything right. The unwild family wants only one thing, but the mistaken zygote is never able to figure out what that is, and if she could, it would make her hair stand up in exclamation points. Prepare yourself. I will tell you this big secret. This is what they really want from you, that mysterious, momentous thing. The unwild want consistency. They want you to be exactly the same today as you were yesterday. They wish you not to change with the days, but to remain as at the beginning of steaming time. Ask the family if they want consistency, and they will answer affirmatively. In all things? No, they will say. Only in the things that matter. Whatever these things are that count in their value systems. They are too often opposite to the wild nature of women. Unfortunately, the things that matter to them are not cohesive with the things that matter to the wild child. Does that sound familiar to anyone else? Because, From the book it says, consistency in manner is an impossible sentence for the wild woman, for her strength is her adaptation to change, her innovation, her dancing, her howling, her growling, her deep instinctual life, her creative fire. She does not show consistency through uniformity, but rather through her creative life, through her consistent perceptions, quick-sightedness, flexibility, and deftness. If we were to name only one thing that makes the wild woman what she is, it would be her responsiveness. The word response comes from the Latin to pledge, to promise, and that is her strong suit. Her perceptive and deft responses are a consistent promise and pledge to the creative forces. Her promise to us, if we will not thwart it, is that she will cause us to live. She will cause us to live fully alive, responsively, and consistently so. This makes so much sense to me. Being a wild woman and following your instinct is not about the things that matter to the world. It's about following the things that matter to you. And when it comes to following my passions or when it comes to following my instincts, one thing that's always been confusing to me is that I felt like I have so many freaking passions and so many freaking instincts to do different things. Like, it's all over the place. I want to write, I want to sing, I want to make YouTube videos, I want to do makeup, I want to do fashion. Like, there's so many different things. It's hard to know which way to go. And that makes so much sense because It's every way. That is the consistency. All of it. Doing all of it. The soul of a child is fragile. Although the care for the needs of a child should be well balanced, we should be worried about a child who is too well behaved. The child who is too well behaved may very well have a soul that has run away. The child whose soul has run away will search for a lifetime to reunite with it. But fortunately, we know that the wild soul never deserts us, and it can never be destroyed. So the child will be reunited eventually. The book says, sometimes it drifts or bolts so far away that it takes masterful coaxing to bring it back. A long time must pass before such a soul will trust enough to return, but it can be accomplished. The retrieval requires several ingredients: naked honesty, stamina, tenderness, sweetness, ventilation of rage, and humor. Combined, these make a song that calls the soul back home. The needs of the soul lie in nature and creativity. It requires passion, intuition, bravery, and protection. The nutrition of the soul is different for every woman, but the recipe and the prescription can be found within her right soul, and only right for her. In the book it says, there is yet another issue to be dealt with. Mistaken zygotes learn to be survivors. It is tough to spend years among those who cannot help you flourish. Being able to say that one is a survivor is an accomplishment. For many, the power is in the name itself, and yet comes a time in the individuation process when the threat or trauma is significantly past. Then is the time to go to the next stage after survivorship, to healing and thriving. If we stay as survivors without moving to thriving, we limit ourselves and cut our energy to ourselves and our power in the world to less than half. One can take so much pride in being a survivor that it becomes a hazard to further creative development. Sometimes people are afraid to continue beyond survivor status, for it is just that, a status, a distinguishing mark, a damn straight bet your buttons better believe it accomplishment. Instead of making survivorship the centerpiece of one's life, it is better to use it as one of many badges, but not the only one. Humans deserve to be dripping in beautiful remembrances, medals, and decorations for having lived, truly lived, and triumphed. Once the threat is past, there is a potential trap in calling ourselves by names taken on during the most terrible time of our lives. It creates a mindset that is potentially limiting. It is not good to base the soul identity solely on the feats and losses and victories of bad times. While survivorship can make a woman as tough as beef jerky, at some point, allying with it exclusively begins to inhibit new development. But thriving means, now that the bad times are behind, to put ourselves into occasions of the lush, the nutritive, the light, and there to flourish, to thrive with bushy, shaggy, heavy blossoms and leaves. It is better to name ourselves names that challenge us to grow as free creatures. That is thriving. That is what is meant for us. After this part in the book, Estes speaks about rituals to commemorate our survivorship and move on into thriving. To summarize, women choose memorandum of their past, their inner survivor child. They pay homage to the past, celebrate the memory, and then cleanse the energy. In the book it says, this way of looking at the past accomplishes several things. It gives perspective, a compassionate rendering of times past, by laying out what one experienced, what one has made of it, what is admirable. It is the admiring of it, rather than the being of it, that releases the person. My mother used to tell me when I was a kid that she had survived and she wanted me to thrive. Now that I've experienced a little bit more life, I understand what she's talking about. I've been surviving for a long time, but it's time for me to thrive. It's time for me to name myself names for thriving, to take away the labels that I gave myself that made me such a strong survivor, to celebrate those things, but to move on, give myself new names, and thrive. It's time to look to a better day, to step into that day, and then be present in that brighter day and own it for myself. The final thing I want to share with you guys from the chapter is, do not cringe and make yourself small if you are called the black sheep, the maverick, the lone wolf. Those with slow seeing say a nonconformist is a blight on society. But it has been proven over the centuries that being different means standing at the edge, means one is practically guaranteed to make an original contribution, a useful and stunning contribution to her culture. When seeking guidance, don't ever listen to the tiny-hearted. Be kind to them, heap them with blessing, cajole them, but don't follow their advice. If you have ever been called defiant, incorrigible, forward, cunning, insurgent, unruly, rebellious, you are on the right track. Wild woman is close by. And if you've never been called these things, there is still yet time. Practice your wild woman. Andale, and again. I love that ending. Don't be afraid. Do what makes your heart sing. Don't be afraid of what anyone tells you to do. Those with a weak heart will try to hold you back. Don't listen. Be as wild as you can be, as much as your heart desires. I love you guys. Thank you for watching this video. Thank you for staying tuned in the whole marathon of this chapter. Leave me a comment of any of your thoughts or whatever. Make sure you've subscribed and you're ready for the next video, because we will be doing chapter 7, which is the joyous body. So we'll be learning about our bodies very soon. And yeah. All right. I love y'all.